What is up, everybody? This is Lyle with No Hippie Barbecue, and what I'm gonna be doing today is I'm gonna be taking tri-tip to a different level. Anyway, before I get to that, I want to let you know that this recipe is in collaboration with another YouTube channel by the name of Everyday Barbecue. Some of you guys know that me and Mike are pretty close on YouTube, and what we decided to do was come up with a recipe for tri-tip that took it a little bit outside of the box. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be making pastrami out of mine. I'm not sure what he's doing with his, but listen, I'm going to leave a link to his channel in the iCard above and description below. Run by there, show him some love. He's putting up some seriously good content. Anyway, the recipe that I'm going to be using for my pastrami is a recipe that I got off of a website called the Artesian Jewish Deli. Now they went a little bit more traditional. They used a brisket, which most of these are made with. Like I said, I'm going with the tri-tip. I thought that would be a nice little change up on it. Anyway, I'm going to leave a link to Mike's video in the iCard above and description below as well. Like I said, I'm not sure what he's going to be doing, but he's definitely going to be going outside the box on it. Anyway, these ingredients that I'm going to be using for this pastrami, pretty close to what the original recipe was. I did make a few changes, and we'll get into those changes once we get to the ingredients, which is right now. I'm just going to be adding my ingredients as we go along. First of all, I'm starting off with 3 quarts of water, and we're going to also be adding another 2.5, 3 quarts of water later. We have some granulated sugar, some granulated salt. Now, I will have a recipe in the description, but I am cutting that salt in half. We have about 1/4 cup of Prague powder number 1. I'm going to leave a link in the description where you can buy this from on Amazon. And I'm also going to have a note regarding the amount of Prague powder that we're using, because some people think that that's a lot, and I've done research on it, and as long as we're curing it, doing a wet brine, we are fine on that. I have some minced garlic, mustard seeds, and some pickling spice. One thing that I'm not adding to this is some coriander seeds. I feel that there's enough in that pickling spice. We have some brown sugar and honey. I'm going to eyeball the honey. All right, first thing I need to do is get this on the stove, bring it up to a boil, and then we'll get down to the rest of this. So I brought this to a boil. We're going to go ahead and add some ice water to it to cool it down. And we're going to let that completely cool before we go ahead and add our tri-tip to it. But I am going to go ahead and get my tri-tip in these bags. This is about 4 total pounds, maybe closer to 5 total pounds of tri-tip. And I'm just going to be doing this in 2 Ziploc bags. And this is going to have a chance to cure for about 5 days, 6 days at the most. We're not going to be trimming anything off of this. Alright, this just needs to cool down. It's going to go to bed in the refrigerator for 5 days. So this brine's had a chance to cool down. Now we're just going to go ahead and add it to our Ziploc bag. And we're going to want to make sure that we stir it real quick before we put it in. Like I said, this is going to go in the refrigerator for 5 days, excuse me. And then we're going to go ahead and smoke it up. I'm not sure what smoker I'm going to use, but listen, if you don't have a smoker, you know, the book that I was reading that had this recipe in it, a lot of the Jewish delis that make this don't even use a smoker. So if you just have an oven, it's going to be fine in the oven as well. Anyway, I'm going to finish filling these up and we'll get back in 5 days. Now that this tri-tip's had a chance to cure in that brine for 5 days, what we're going to do, and I'm going to do this off camera, is I'm just going to drain all this liquid off of these tri-tips and just set them to the side, let them come to room temperature a little bit. Right now what I'm going to do is go ahead and make this rub that we're going to be using. So this rub is a 1/4 cup of coriander, 2 tablespoons of paprika. Now the recipe I'm following was an oven recipe, so they use smoked paprika in theirs. I'm using my smoker, so I'm just going with some regular paprika. And then we have 2 tablespoons of fresh black pepper. We're just going to kind of mix this up. So I just transferred that rub into a shaker, so we're just going to go ahead and start seasoning up this tri-tip. Now the recipe that I'm following, like I said, was for a brisket pastrami, which is typically what pastrami is made out of. They were cooking at 300 degrees on theirs, and I'm going to be cooking somewhere in the low 2s on mine. And instead of going to 200 degrees internal temperature, I am going to cook this more on the medium well side, but that's only going to be like 140, 145 degrees on this. And I am telling you, this is smelling good, and it hasn't even hit the smoker yet. It seems to already have taken on some of that aroma from that cure that we had. I'm not sure if I mentioned it or not, but the smoker I'm going to be using today is going to be my Camp Chef Woodwind. Now, one thing about this Camp Chef Woodwind is you have a low smoke setting and then a high smoke setting. The high smoke setting is going to put you somewhere between 225 to 235 degrees, so that's what we're going to be rolling with today. And this is going to be a relatively short cook, so I'm not going to use any meat probes or anything like that. All right, we're gonna let that go till we get to about 140, 145 degrees. So let's go ahead and check this tri-tip out, see what our temperature is. Looks like we are almost at 145 degrees. I'm gonna let this cook for about another 7-8 minutes, and then we'll just bring it inside, and I'm gonna just foil it up and let it rest. So it's probably even gonna climb a few more degrees after that, which I'm fine with. So here's what we're looking like right here. Just pulled it off the smoker. I'm just gonna go ahead and tin it in some foil, and we'll get slicing it here in a little bit. When it comes to these tri-tips, you have grains that are running 2 separate directions on this, and it's usually right where you'll see it kind of curve. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to kind of cut it right there, and then we're going to start slicing against the grain on both sides. So like we were talking about, these grains right here are coming down this direction, and these are going this way, so we're just going to kind of come right here at the joint, set one side or one to the side. Like I said, these grains are running this way, so we're going to be slicing this way. But take a look at that color right there. And I was thinking about doing this in a meat slicer, which I still may do with this second one. But it looks like we're getting thin enough slices out of this. That looks good. I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting this up, plating, and see how this came out. Now that we have it sliced up, I guess there's only one thing that I need to do, and that's to get into this taste test. Now before I do that, I do want to remind you that this video is in collaboration with my boy Mike over at Everyday Barbecue. The concept of this tri-tip was to do something outside of the box, not just the regular old grilled tri-tip, reverse grilled tri-tip, or anything like that. So I'm going to leave a link again to that video. Go take a look at that and see what he came up with. Anyway, let's get in and taste this. Has some good flavor to it. what I am picking up in this, which next time I do it, because I like it, I might have a little bit more of a hint of like that honey, or maybe cut back on that sugar, because it is a tad bit sweet, but definitely outside the box. I haven't scoured YouTube to see if there's anybody else making tri-tip pastrami, but this is the first time I've done it, and I think that's a good recipe. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for stopping by No Hippie Barbecue. I appreciate it. Comment, subscribe, and I'm out.